What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Pope Explains. I've been having kind of a crazy day today and a crazy last few months, so that's why you haven't seen any new awesome content from me recently, but I'm here for you. And so today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite video games of all time, something that I play fairly frequently, and I just like it a lot. It's called Starcraft, and if you haven't checked out Starcraft, it's an absolutely wonderful game and also one of the most popular esport games out there. Okay? So we're going to talk about it. I'm going to explain it to you in the simplest terms I can, and preferably with a lot of profanity. So let's go ahead and erase this awesome title that I made and get into the good stuff. All right, so StarCraft is a game about three races fighting, okay? And the idea is that these races are trying to have control over their part of the galaxy. That's why it's StarCraft. And it's good times. Now, there are three races, as I mentioned. They are Terrans, who look like this. Except they have like these really sweet helmets. They go like this, and then, and it goes. They got this big ass body armor and stuff. Some of them do like the fire bats. It's really cool. The fire bats are like, let's burn something, or something like that, because they're fire bats. Then you have the Zerg, who are really heavily based, actually, believe it or not, on Ridley Scott's Aliens. So this is a Zergling, as far as I can draw one. They even got the tails and stuff. You know what? This ain't a bad silhouette. I ain't mad at this. Put a little space for the leg there. And then maybe I can do that. Nope, that didn't work. All right. So then you have the Zerg. Okay. And then you also have the Protoss. And I have no idea how I'm going to draw the Protoss, so I'm just going to do this. They kind of like got like the Montezuma type helmets. And they don't have mouths. No mouths on the Protoss. They just have eyes. It looks like a hockey player. Anyway, so, and they're really cool. They use telekinesis for everything that they do. So, you got these three races, and they're battling. The history between them is relatively complicated. But basically, the Terrans left Earth. Yeah, it's my YouTube show. I can act like my mistakes are supposed to be there. The Zerg are a race that, oh my god. The Zerg are a race that are absorbing other races in order to accomplish biological perfection. Does that sound anything like any other race of xenomorphic type animals that you've ever heard of before? Because that's what the Zerg are all about, okay? And then the Protoss are an ancient civilization that are kind of just trying to, wait out the clock and get by. And they have a hard time with it. When you're actually playing the game, the way this translates is three dynamic races that all have their own kind of way of doing things. And it is one of the main conceits that made StarCraft different. Now, if you take something like Warcraft, not World of Warcraft, we don't talk about World of Warcraft on this channel. We'll never talk about World of Warcraft because it's stupid. My apologies to anybody who likes World of Warcraft. You're wrong, okay? But Warcraft, every race basically performed the same. They had the same requirements, and it was not only a test of speed, but it was also a test of kind of like your resource management, okay? And StarCraft is as well, but the way that it's different is that every race has its own kind of like their own ticks and their own talks and their own things that kind of change them around. So, for example, the Terran, something that makes the Terran special is that they have buildings that actually have rockets on the bottom. So, let's say some Zerglings are attacking your building. These are Zerglings. They look like little dildo dinosaurs, but they're Zerglings. Okay. I'm just going to make them into dinosaurs. Fuck it! Okay, so they're attacking. Then all you have to do is just move it. you can move it somewhere else. You can move it over here, or some people, they do something called cheese, and we'll get into cheese in a second, but they'll put it into somebody's base. That happens a lot. It's kind of funny. And you can move everything around. Also, Terrans have a pretty direct and understandable kind of build order. So build order is basically the order that you choose in order to, maximize the effectiveness of your units on the battlefield. Because in StarCraft, a lot of it's strategy, and when you start talking about people playing at the highest levels, the difference between 1 or 2 units actually can really sway the entire battle. And really talented StarCraft casters can determine when that happens. Somebody will lose 1 Zergling, and they'll be like, oh, that's going to cause problems for Cyril. You know what I mean? So that's part of it. But when you're on kind of playing on a lower level, like me, like the lowest level humanly possible, numbers are really what matters. So you want to conserve your units as best as possible. And I have no idea where I was going with that. I was talking about rockets, and somehow I got, build order. So the way you do it is by managing your economy. This is called macro. Okay, micro is controlling your units. Macro is controlling your economy. If your macro isn't done well, your micro will suffer, and you will have problems, okay? And so I play pretty often against my friend Braylon, and he's got really good micro, but where he's great is macro. But Braylon plays as a Zerg. So these guys can not only use armor, and they have armor and stuff like that, but they also have buildings that can move around. Now the Zerg are interesting because they're based on bugs. So you basically have this hive, right? It has little claws on it. I think it's a really cool design, actually. Oh, dude. Oh, my God. I'm actually drawing it. Okay, I did not know I could do that. Okay, so you got this hive, and around it is this stuff called creep, okay? And creep, you cannot build on it if you're Zerg if you don't have creep, okay? You have to have creep for all your little Zergling guys to hang out on and be happy, and they're like, yo, I'm a fucking Zerg, yo. For the swarm, dog. Right? That's what Zerg players say, for the swarm. I think it's actually from Warcraft. They used to say for the horde. So, which was like the orcs or something. I don't remember. I've only played Warcraft like 3 times. But this is also a benefit because of the creep, that your units can actually move faster on it when you're Zerg. Right? And they also have full visibility of the battlefield. Okay? They can see everything that happens on their creep. Okay? It's a cool eye. Look at that. A little nose there. Look, it's the Queen of Blades. Kerrigan. Alright. I'm so fucking stupid. I don't make a video in 6 months, and this is what you get. I don't... Look. Take me as I am. Okay? Okay. Has it been 6 months? I don't know if it's been 6 months. Anyway, who cares? Okay, so that's kind of the whole deal with the Zerg. They're really interesting, and they're really cool, but the thing about it is that the units are only born by using larvae, right? And so you have to continually be breeding larvae. You can't just like kind of mechanically make them like you can do with the Terran, or like the Protoss. What the Protoss do is they actually... transport them in. So they have portals, okay? And so Protoss have portals, and Jesus, that looks terrible. Okay. Okay. So they have these portals, and they bring them in, and then they come out, and they say, my life for ire. Or, if you're my wife, she says, I love football. Literally, that's what she thinks they say, and every time he says my life for ire, she says I love football. I don't know why these two things, one of these things is not like the other, and by one of these things, I mean both of these things are not like the other, but hey, what do I know? So the Protoss, the main battlefield benefit you get from them is that they can build essentially anywhere, and they have these things called pylons. Now, pylons are kind of a meme because when that's how you kind of keep track of your supply. He says, you require additional pylons. And so that's like a thing now. Like people say that to each other. They say you require additional pylons. It's kind of like a nerd handshake. If you walk up to somebody and you say, you require additional pylons, they're like, hey, and you're all like, hey, and they're all like, you want to play some Starcraft? And you're all like, no, I suck. At least that's if you're me. So pylons are cool, but the cool thing is you can put a pylon anywhere and then you can build around it. So everything that a Protoss uses has to be built in the vicinity of this pylon or it won't work. It won't get power, okay? So what a lot of people do is they actually build something called a Proxy Pylon. They'll go next to their opponent's base, build a pylon, and start importing from Ire or wherever. They'll start importing Protoss commandos to come in there and fuck shit up, all right? Very effectual. But then every race has its drawbacks. So, for example, Zerg are cheap, and you can get a lot of them. Numerous. I was going to put numerous, but now it's looking like November. Anyway, you can get a lot of them, but the problem is they're squishy, which is actually Braylon's term. That's what he always calls them. I'm not going to take credit for his terms. They are squishy. Okay? And then the Protoss are not squishy. So they're hard to kill. They also come with built-in shields. But the main issue with them is that they're expensive in resources. So your resources, of course, being gas and crystals, right? So then Terran, the main drawback of Terran is really none. Terran are very balanced. And that's supposed to be an infinity, but I did it upright. Okay. So Terran are pretty balanced. And they don't really have many drawbacks. They're actually a really cool race. And when you start playing StarCraft, it's recommended that you play as Terran because you have that cool balance. And you have a better chance of success playing as Terran. But what happens is people get into the other races and they really go in on it. And then they can really dominate against a Terran because they know how to use the strengths and to avoid their weaknesses being exploited. So that's kind of the mark of a good StarCraft player. And so you see the metagame of StarCraft changes constantly. And if you keep track of the latest metas, it's interesting. It's also exhausting because it's just always changing. But some things never change despite what happens with the metagame. Cheese is always fun. So cheese, what it is just when you do something cheesy. So, for example, you take one of your builder units and you take them across the map, and then you put them at the far end of your opponent's map where your opponent's like building area where he can't see because he doesn't have visibility yet, and you start building units, and then you attack from within his own base. That's cheese. Some people would argue that that's just good tactics, but it's generally considered to be cheese. Another cheese tactic is, especially for Protoss, if you build turrets. You build turrets outside of somebody's base, or cannons, as they're called for Protoss. You build cannons outside of somebody's base, here, here, and here. This is the roadway up to their base, and it'll start exploding everything that comes up. And then so your opponent will have to retreat a little bit to kind of get their bearings, and then you build another cannon here, here, here. It's called a cannon rush. And it's not fucking fair. It's actually very rude. But that's why it's cheese. You don't see a lot of cheese on professional levels just because I think there's more of like a code. And they kind of avoid it, although you do occasionally see it. And so professional StarCraft, if you guys have never watched professional StarCraft, even if you suck at the game like I do, it's really fun to watch. Like, some of my favorite players are, I really like Cyril. I'm not a Zerg guy, but I really like Cyril. Scarlet, also known as the Queen of Blades, is an amazing player. There, I mean, and then there's a lot of like kind of Asian players. I mean, Koreans just dominated StarCraft, but you got dudes like Beyond and all those guys, Maru. Like, there's a million of them, and they're all really good. I mean, you're talking about people that are playing on a level that you can't achieve in your wildest fantasies. So you might as well just enjoy them. It's like watching the NFL. Like, there's no way you're ever going to be able to play like Dan Marino. I don't know, somebody in the NFL. I almost said Tiger Woods, but he's golf. I don't know. I don't know about sports. So, in conclusion, this video probably explained next to nothing. And the reason is because StarCraft is an incredibly difficult topic because you got two aspects. You got the story, and then you got the actual game. But what's the future of StarCraft? Nobody knows. Blizzard keeps canceling new StarCraft games, even though it's one of the biggest fucking money makers ever because of the esports thing. But they just keep canceling them. There's supposed to be a first-person shooter StarCraft game that came out. They said no. All this other stuff. And so they want to make 20 versions of Diablo that aren't going to be as good as Diablo 2. But they don't want to put out new StarCraft. I don't understand it. Blame Activision. All right? It's not my fault. Okay? Don't shoot the messenger. Other than that, guys, enjoy this latest video. I'll try to get back on making these. It's been really busy. But I hope you all have a wonderful day, man. And be well and take it easy. And it's about to be Memorial Day weekend. So make sure to thank a soldier. Actually, no. Actually, don't. That's wrong. God, I got that so wrong. Soldiers, you thank them on Veterans Day. You don't thank them on Memorial Day. Memorial Day is for soldiers that are passed away. So, keep that in mind. I am Pope. I have explained. And I'll see you on the next one.